So today we did a little walk through the Allston Village Main Streets area with city officials, with community partners, and got to hear firsthand from our very, very important partners in the small business world, our entrepreneurs here, just how it's going during the pandemic. We're also sharing some information ahead of the January 15th start date for our Be Together policy, which is designed to make sure that everyone is safe in our workforce and customers coming to spend time in certain types of businesses. We know that businesses have been hit incredibly hard during the pandemic, and the city is here to do whatever we can to support. So today, I wanted to start first by inviting up Hector, who is the owner of this incredible business, just to share a little bit about what they do here and just your general thoughts on the pandemic.
So pretty much our clients over here, they come because they want to learn how to work out. They want to know how to be in a second home, in a second place. They can share the experience and also see what they can do in these hard times. So at least they find this place very, very helpful. So I help them to create a lifestyle, to losing weight, to build muscle, but more than that, just to help them with the mind. It's a very hard time for them to have more stress. So they come in here and help them, to release the stress, to help them to have a better lifestyle. So they have the most important time with their own self, and then I help them with the workout as well. So that's pretty much what we do. We do more one-on-one training and small group classes, but we are more a community. We are a team here. So very happy.
We're really thrilled to be here to support and celebrate what's happening at this small business, which is a gym and one of the indoor fitness venues that is covered by our new policy. We also spent some time at a dance studio. We walked through several restaurants and got to chat with each of the business owners there as well. Questions?
We're in the middle of a COVID surge. How important is it that the implementation of this goes well this weekend?
This is the one step in many that the city is taking to make sure that we're doing everything possible and addressing the pandemic along with our economic recovery. We have heard from many business owners over the course of the pandemic that when decisions are left up to each individual business, it is stressful, it is confusing, and it really puts the burden even more on our entrepreneurs who are doing everything they can just to keep the doors open and keep the bills paid. So this policy will be a way to have consistent, clear guidance that is fair across the board, and we've been working with business owners over the last few weeks with lots of well-attended webinars, door-to-door outreach as we've been doing today, and lots of two-way conversations about how to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible.
There was a question about the city possibly providing support in the way of kiosks. I know once the app rolls out, people might be thinking in the case of that business owner that it's more convenient to just have people scan themselves in rather than pay someone to check. Is there anything to provide to businesses in that part?
We'll definitely look into what's possible. One of the business owners we ran into at the local cafe mentioned that she had traveled to a different city and there was very little involvement even necessary from the small business and their staff there, where there was a proof of vaccination requirement as well. They had a kiosk installed near the door, and all you had to do is open your app, scan it, and it would make one sound if you were good and one sound if you were not good. And she said that would really ease the burden on our staffing challenges. So we want to have those conversations with business owners and figure out what is possible and see if we can add more funding that's available through our various small business grant funding programs for businesses to make their own decisions about how to support and implement this. We also want to make sure that we're not just limiting this to a technology-based entry mechanism. We're very clear and intentional in our policy that this will not just be limited to an app to provide proof of vaccination, but you could show your paper card, you can show a picture of your card, just to make sure we are not reinforcing any digital divides as well.
And then has your administration thought about any concerns folks might have about people who get upset at having to present proof of vaccination? I know I can't be the only person that saw that video of the person at Carmine's that got upset for having to demonstrate they were vaccinated.
Yeah, we are in a time when there is a lot of emotion out in the world and a lot of misinformation at the root of that. And so I want to urge everyone to make sure that we, again, as a city government, are putting in place a policy that is consistent, fair, and clear across the board, so that the burden is not on small business owners to absorb the responsibility for making individual decisions on what is safe and what is not safe and how to implement it. We will be there to support and provide that guidance. And in terms of the conversations about what happens if something doesn't go well or if there's an incident, of course, this will be handled as any incident as any of our small businesses might, with support from the city. For example, if there's a need for public safety, there could be a need for public safety. If there is an issue with compliance, there are, right now in our licenses that are given out for alcohol or for entertainment, there are ways in which there's hearings afterwards to, if a business, for example, is experiencing some challenges, and that could be a mechanism to engage directly with the city as well.
Mayor Luke, can you speak to your support for the rent stabilization that's being discussed on Beacon Hill this afternoon? A lot of the development community argues that a rent control would, in fact, lessen housing production. I know you've disagreed with that in the past. Can you just explain a little bit about what your thoughts are there?
Yeah, and I don't know if the hearing's still ongoing, but as of this morning, I joined a joint City Life Vida Urbana and other advocates and a coalition in preparation to participate in and support the legislation before the State House today, the Joint Committee on Housing, which is on a bill that would lift the statewide ban on rent stabilization or allow for cities one by one to make the decision about how best to protect and stabilize tenants and residents. We know that housing costs are driving people out of our city of Boston. We know housing instability is at the foundation of so many challenges that our residents are experiencing when it comes to health, when it comes to finding a job or staying safe and stable. And this needs to be something that the city is doing every possible step on. So in addition to what we're doing locally, which is putting funding to create more affordable housing, streamlining our processes so affordable housing moves more quickly through our processes, and finding ways to increase home ownership and help close the gap between what down payment assistance could do for residents who are trying to buy a home. I fully support making sure that cities have the ability to implement rent stabilization, to implement protections that can keep people in their homes. There are many housing units across the city of Boston that already have rent stabilization built in because it was a city-funded project or a community development corporation involved, or the state government helped make sure that these rents were at a certain, what we call AMI, area median income, that has making it possible for many thousands of our residents to be able to stay in Boston today. There are cities around the country that have implemented rent stabilization already. They have analyzed these policies and laws, and several of them have even produced data and reports showing that when done with the right balance, it doesn't harm housing production. And we can have both an increase in supply, but also the badly needed protection to keep our residents in their homes while we are building more affordability.
Okay, and as a follow-up, how do you see your support of lifting that bill fit in with a lot of the local measures that you mentioned, including studying raising IDP from 13 to 20, looking at potentially increasing linkage fees? How do you see that as kind of fulfilling your goals for the future of Boston when it comes to real estate development?
We have to build the city that is for everyone, and that means everyone from every background, every community, every income level. We need more housing that our residents can afford. We need places for families to stay and thrive. We need to stop the trends that we're seeing in our census data, where there are fewer Black Bostonians living in Boston today compared to 10 years ago. People are getting squeezed out of our city, and the pandemic has only made it worse. And so now is the moment to really step into everything that city government can do and work in partnership with state and federal government, with the resources coming down for the pandemic recovery, put that towards affordable housing and make sure Boston's a place where everyone can live.
How will you know if the vaccine mandate has been a success?
We will see a culture here that is like culture in basically every other city that already has this in place, which is it becomes second nature and you don't even notice it. It becomes part of the process of entering, checking in quickly, having someone glance at your phone or your card, and seeing full, thriving businesses because people feel safe being out and about, and business owners know that their workforce is protected.
Do you
Do you want to add anything, Hector, on this, or you're good?
Do you have any thoughts on where the city is with workers complying with the vaccine mandate?
City workers? We've been running vaccination clinics all week at some focused on particularly large departments, and we're continuing to see our city workers participate in these clinics, both for vaccination and for getting boosters. So our numbers are ticking up, and I am hopeful that as the days go by and we get closer to that, that we'll continue to see them jump even more.
Last question.
And
Do
I'll
you know
end.
which departments have like the lowest compliance?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know, for example, we've been hosting vaccine clinics at Boston Fire headquarters that have been available for our first responders. We're working to make some specifically available for our school staff as well. And again, these are just the departments with the largest number of employees. Do we want to, Chief Ida, would you want anything about success of this initiative or what we're looking for?
Sure. Well, first, so I'm Shagun Idawu, the Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. First, want to thank my team who's here, Midori, the Deputy Chief, Natalia Ertabe, who's the Director of Small Business, Abby and Yari just stepped out, but they're the Neighborhood Business Managers. And I want to also thank our whole team for coming out. We chose the coldest day of the year on purpose to show and prove our support for small businesses here in the city of Boston. But when it comes to success, I mean, at the end of the day, in a previous role, but also in this new role, every small business I've talked to has wanted this mandate to be implemented, not just to protect their patrons who are coming in, but their own employees. And so, as the mayor said, not just creating that culture where employees and employers are okay with this and that it's a seamless process, but that the general public sees it for what it is, which is an effort to protect lives and livelihoods. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're here today, to talk about the importance of this mandate, but also really how we can support small businesses like Hector's beyond the pandemic when we get there, which is the point of this mandate, to help increase the number of folks who are vaccinated so we can get over this hurdle.
This is a major shift from past administrations. Does this feel like a big test just a few months into this new administration?
I don't believe this is a test. I mean, again, this is a response to what business owners have been asking for a long time. As the mayor said, what we're hearing is that it's very difficult when businesses are operating one by one, case by case, which is where you do see patrons acting in the way that they act, because they can go to a business right next door that might not need those mandates or the masks or anything back in that time. But for this is a response. This is when the mayor was in our council days hearing from small businesses, and now as mayor actually using the apparatus of the city to respond nimbly to what business owners are asking for.
Sir, how do you see your role as working with both the existing business community and the new mayoral administration in fulfilling the mission of economic opportunity for all Bostonians?
Well, as the chief of this cabinet, the direct mission is to focus on creating not just an economically viable city, but one that is equitable.
I guess more themes of what you'll be pursuing in the next year.
Oh, so in terms of our priorities, well, the first priority is making sure that we're helping our businesses comply with this mandate, providing the resources they need to get through this hurdle, but then projecting outward, focusing on, one of the last businesses we were at, one of the questions I asked was about where the dance studio, the salsa studio, which I'm going to be a member of shortly, where he sees himself in 3, 4, 5 years, because a lot of our businesses are also looking to own their own properties, because what we saw with previous grants is that they wind up just paying the landlord as opposed to investing in their business. So one of our focus areas is going to be that, and a bunch of other things, making our neighborhoods destinations, so that we're not just focused on particular parts of the city, but rather, you know, if a family member is coming to Boston, they're visiting Mattapan for the weekend as opposed to they're just going downtown or Fenway, some of the normal places, and a bunch of other really important urgent priorities we're going to focus on, and I'll be happy to release something that sounds a bit more confident, right? But we have about 6 or 7 urgent priorities we'll be focused on, and then a list of secondary priorities for the year alone that the team I just mentioned is going to be working with me to help execute.
Great,
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor?
Okay, I'm going to get in Chief Malore and Rep. Honan, and then I'll take more.
So I'm just going to say a few words. The reason why this is called the Be Together mandate, I'll introduce myself first. I'm the Chief of Community Engagement. So the reason why it's called the Be Together movement and the Be Together initiative is because this vaccine mandate will allow us to be together sooner and safer. I'm collaborating, it shows collaboration across departments of what the community desperately needs. They want to feel safer, they want to be in healthy environments together. So we're collaborating with the Office of Economic Development and collaborating with ONS and making sure that the community is just responsive to what's happening on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just want to welcome you here to Allston Brighton. We thank you for visiting all the small businesses along Harvard Ave and Brighton Ave. I think it's very important to have a mayor of Boston come out, offer encouragement and resources to these small businesses that have been struggling. So I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you for bringing your whole team out here. A lot of pride in this neighborhood. You've met the leadership of the Allston Village Main Streets, Alex and Paul DeBergosian over there. We thank you for your leadership. So it's just nice to know, Mayor, that you have their back and you came out here to visit them and encourage them and give them hope.
Natalia, do you want to add anything, given all the work you've been doing?
Hi, everybody. Natalia Ertabay, Director of Small Business. Just want to say that for small businesses out there, if you need support, our office is still offering small business relief grants through our the small business office. If anybody needs technical assistance or other forms of support, please don't hesitate to reach out. smallbiz@boston.gov. We're happy to help. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Midori Morikawa. I'm the Deputy Chief for the new created Office, Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. Just happy to be here to spread the word about the vaccine mandate. As Mayor mentioned earlier, we do have a number of webinars that were well attended. We have one coming up this Thursday, so we hope to answer questions and keep going ongoing conversation, communication with small businesses. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, it's going to just touch on the weather. It's the coldest day in a few years. How has the city held up so far? And we anticipate doing anything else? Because tomorrow's going to be cold and this weekend's going to be cold again.
Yeah, it's chilly outside, and so the timing of our walk lined up very nicely with that. I'm very glad we made the decision early yesterday to keep schools closed, just to make sure there was no incident whatsoever with any of our young people or students being left out of the cold or on a corner waiting for a bus or needing to find their way on a long walk to school. We are continuing to stay in touch with our emergency management department and the Boston Public Health Commission. The city, when the temperature falls to a certain level or it gets hot in the summer to a certain level, we do generally have warming centers or cooling centers. They haven't been as fully used or full in recent years that we've noticed. So we're embarking on processes to really be in touch with residents about what do people need in these instances of extreme weather. So this certainly won't be the last day, and we need to hear from our residents of what would be most helpful and how we continue to keep everyone safe and warm. Okay, anyone need Spanish, or are we good? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.